Hello and welcome. I'm Lorianne Lumby with Authentic Freedom Academy, and this is our weekly spiritual service that we hold on Fridays via Zoom at 1 p.m. Central Time. And a recorded version of at least part of this gathering is available on YouTube following following the gatherings. So thank you for being here today, and let's take a few moments and gather and ground ourselves into this space. So I'll invite you to close your eyes. And I invite you to draw your awareness inward, to draw your energy and your attention into the center of your heart. Allowing yourself to feel that intimate connection with self. To remember that deep within the center of our being is our truth, our purpose, our calling, and our peace. That when we allow ourselves to connect with that deep inner space, we're able to detach from the worries and challenges that life often presents to us. When we find ourselves troubled, we can turn to that inward space and find comfort, guidance, and healing. And we're aware that it is that inner self that has called us to this circle and to giving ourselves permission to take time out of our busy lives to simply be in connection with ourselves, and in connection with those with whom we feel safe, with whom we feel a kindred connection, and with whom we can feel and experience a sense of support and the reminder that we are not alone in this journey. So let us pause for a few moments in silence as we connect deeply to that still inner space. And in that place of deep connection, I invite you to listen through your higher self's ears to these words from Luke's Gospel. Now the people were filled with expectation, and all were asking in their hearts whether John might be the Messiah. John answered them all, saying, I am baptizing you with water, but one mightier than I is coming. I am not worthy to loosen the thongs of his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. His winnowing fan is in his hand to clear his threshing floor and to gather the wheat into his barn. But the chaff he will burn with unquenchable fire. As I sat in reflection this week on the events in our world and how things are unfolding, and thinking about, what am I going to talk about on Friday? The words that were screamed into my ear were separating the wheat from the chaff, separating the wheat from the chaff, separating the wheat from the chaff. And that resonated so deeply with me as to what we see happening in our world right now. And I see that separation as happening on two different levels. Let's see, the loudest, I think, is what we're seeing happening in the external world. And as we're at this strange stage of transition in our response to the COVID-19 virus, and in Wisconsin, we're reopening, whatever that means, and somewhere along the line, any sort of universal guidelines were tossed out, and individual businesses are willy-nilly trying to figure out how to stay in business without going out of business, trying to figure out how to reopen and how to do so responsibly and carefully, at least in some cases, and I think in other cases probably not so responsibly and probably not so carefully. In the midst of all of that, we also have, the two opposite ends of the pole, which we've talked about. On one hand of the pole is the conversation that says we're all going to die. And on the other end of the pole is it's all a hoax. And I think, as I mentioned last week, or maybe the week prior to that, is, I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. I don't think we're all going to die, and I don't think it's a hoax. I think we don't know the answers. We don't know enough about the virus. We don't know what's conspiracy theory, or what of the conspiracy theories are true, or which ones of them are false, and we might never know. So we're in this place of unknown without really anyone being able to guide us, which brings up an interesting thought, just as I say that, is herein lies part of the problem, is that human beings have been disempowered in a hierarchical, patriarchal culture. We have been conditioned to look outside of ourselves for a perceived authority to give us guidance and direction. And beyond this pandemic is that invitation, or at least what I think is happening, is that we're moving into a new world paradigm. And part of that new world paradigm is personal accountability, personal authority, inner authority. But at the same time, we do need a collective voice of reason and discernment as we move through a time that feels very tenuous, even treacherous in some situations. And as we move through this time of unknown, and really, I think it feels almost like the chaos has increased as we're moving from shutdown to caution being thrown to the wind. There are a lot of fears that are being stirred, and I think rightly so. There are a lot of, in my personal opinion, people that are acting in very irresponsible and potentially dangerous ways. And so we have this bordering on a sense of bordering on anarchy of, how are we really supposed to respond to this, and what are we supposed to do? And when I sit with that, I think that ultimately, the proof is going to be in the pudding, so to speak, and that this is a time of separating the wheat from the chaff. And my personal opinion is that those that make it through this process, that survive this quote unquote ordeal, will be those that are discerning and gathering scientific information to the best of our ability, using the brains that we've been given to reason, discern, and exercise truth, and exercising caution. I don't think it's ever a wrong decision to be cautious, especially in the face of so many unknowns. And if we want to make it through this experience, we have to be cautious. And I don't say that to breed fear, because I'm not the kind of person that makes decisions based in fear, but I do use my discernment and what makes sense to me. So, an example, I'm not going to go to a public restaurant and sit at a table with a bunch of people in a room full of people I don't know and don't see on a regular basis, amongst a wait staff that may or may not be taking safe measures. By the same token, I'm still going to the coffee shop every day and getting a cup of coffee, wearing my mask when I go in. The staff is wearing masks. So we're trying to be as safe as we can without losing all of our creature comforts. So there's that level of it. And I also think that as we continue to move through this, we're going to see what's going to be shown or proved to us are those things that are failing, the institutions that are failing, the systems that are failing. And moving through this COVID-19 experience is shining a brighter and brighter light on those failures. So as the external world continues to insist that it has power and control and that it knows what's best for everybody, we see the failure happening over and over and over and over. And, in the beginning, the failure was, well, no one's making a decision about anything. Then it was medical facilities don't have the proper equipment to treat people. They're not ready to handle a pandemic. And now we're going to see that continue as we move through every institution that is part of this experience. Education is one that pops up in my mind right now. I know the CDC guidelines for reopening schools have just been published. I don't know how they're going to be able to do that. It's impossible to take a classroom that houses 30 kids and put those kids every other desk apart, make them wear masks all day long, no more hot lunch, no recess. I mean, to me, I don't know how they can possibly make that happen. So it's going to be interesting to see what rises in this and what falls. So the chaff is the part that falls away. It's the part that needs to be destroyed. It's the part that that needs to be gotten rid of because it doesn't give life. And I think intuitively we have a sense of what are the things that haven't been giving us life. And I know for myself, I'm like, hooray, go away. But I also know we're not there yet. So we're in the midst of that discomfort that comes with change, that chaos that comes with change. That then brings me into the personal part of this, separating the wheat from the chaff. To make it through this process as individuals, we have to be doing that work ourselves. Asking those tough questions about what's life-giving for me and what's not. What is sustaining and supportive and nurturing and what's not. What has been working and what hasn't been working. What inside of us is chaff? What are the unhealed wounds that are still making themselves known, that are asking for attention and love and support and healing and transformation? Where are the places within ourselves where we need to exercise self-forgiveness? Is there shame or guilt or negative self-images or self-talk that we carry around within us? And how is that asking to be transformed? What are the possibilities or opportunities or chances for life that maybe we hold ourselves back from? What are the ways in which we self-protect that might be at the point where it's more of a self-defense mechanism than it is an actual authentic need for protection? What are we giving our energy to that is life-giving? And what are we giving our energy to out of obligation or conditioning or that really bad should word? We should be doing this. What is the wheat that is in us that is being asked to be known and cultivated and supported? And what are the things that we're being invited to let go of? And as the world around us gets more and more insane, as the death throes get louder and more insistent and more irrational, the more we have to go into that inner space and ask those tough questions. I know for myself, I'm a queen of should. Like, "Ugh, I really should be more productive. I really should be working on that book. I really should be doing something other than watch Netflix all day. I really should be giving my energy and attention to XYZ." Um, but often the energy just isn't there. And I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for how much our personal energy is being used to support the death and rebirth of our world. Because we live in a culture that has never said, oh, by the way, there are human beings whose job it is to hold space for this transition. And when you came here, you signed up for this. And it doesn't mean you need to be doing. It might mean that you need to sleep all day or do nothing but watch Netflix or be really irresponsible. And we're so conditioned by the patriarchal world that is all about drive, strive, achieve, setting goals, making your goals happen, working hard to get that thing taken care of, and then taking pride in how hard we worked on that. But really, what has that hard work gotten us but weary? So as we're at this place, these are the questions to ask ourselves. And also the acknowledgement to make around what's happening in the world. And can we be okay with that kind of separation? Because it's not the separation that we're used to, which is divided by gender, sex, religion, race, nation, and there's a million other ways in which human beings divide themselves. Instead, this is a division between what's life-giving and what's not. And really being able to sit as that objective observer watching out in the world and going, yeah, that's going by the wayside. And in many cases, being okay with that, in other times, maybe feeling some resistance. And ultimately, I think for everyone, feeling the discomfort of that change, especially since we don't know what's coming next. And the same is true for ourselves personally. Giving ourselves permission to sit in that discomfort and say, yeah, today I feel like crap. Today I feel sad. Today I feel angry. Today I feel frustrated. Today I feel bored. Today I feel lonely. And sitting in that discomfort, knowing that in allowing ourselves to be with it, we are facilitating that separation. That those moments of darkness are there to teach us, to remind us of what is true for us and what is not, what's life-giving and what is not. Where are we being called and where are we not? And sometimes it's in the middle of that discomfort that we hear the call to new life, that we hear our next step whispering in our ear. We hear that seed of new growth. So can we allow ourselves to be in that place of knowing that there will be things we'll let go of, there'll be new things to claim, and that it might be through discomfort that we get there. So with that, I want to close with the card that I pulled for our group today. This is from Alana Fairchild's Mother Mary Oracle deck, and the artwork is by Shiloh Sophia McLeod. And the card I chose today is Our Lady of the Rose Child. And this is her message. You are my rose child, born of agony and ecstasy. In sorrow and joy, I am with you, and you are growing. In darkness and light, I am with you, and you are growing. In death and new life, I am with you, and you are growing. The thorn and the bloom, both of the rose. In the midst of your suffering, you are in the birthing pains of new life. I cherish you, my heavenly rose child. Do not fear the darkness of life. It is necessary for your light to be made manifest. I am your mother, the midwife for the birth of your soul, and the defender of your heart. Surrender and trust in me. So I invite us to take a few moments in our own silent reflection. If you're here live today, feel free to get up, move around, refresh your drink, use the bathroom, whatever you need to do, and then we'll reconvene and have an opportunity to share anything that might be percolating up in us in regards to today's lesson. So I want to thank everyone that was able to share in the circle today, and for sharing your wisdom, your insights, your humor, and thank you for being part of this circle that together we are being present to this remarkable transition that we are experiencing as a planet and as a species. And as a closing, I want to share two more paragraphs from Our Lady of the Rose Child that speaks to a direct message for us. So I invite you to listen to this as our closing prayer. The Oracle of Our Lady of the Rose Child comes with a special message. If you have been suffering, do not believe that the mother has turned away from you. She is in your heart, suffering with you. She is bearing this and asking that you bear it because she loves you, and this is your way to outgrow that which is too small for your future. Your breaking heart is the seed cracking open so that new life can begin. She is protecting you from unnecessary struggle, yet there are challenges which are essential for your soul to grow. These challenges will not be withheld from you because you are entitled to become your full self. Her message is this: from any suffering, great love will be born. Surrender into your pain to find the path through it, for that path is there and new life is awaiting you. The mother will help you find the path through any pain or struggle. Nothing is impossible for her love. Know that your current struggle is blessed, and although this may not make much sense to the mind, this message can help the heart find some peace to bear this challenging part of your journey. Know that you are not alone, and that the Heavenly Mother walks with you always. Pray to her, not for the challenge to be taken away, but for the courage, responsiveness, surrender, trust, and grace required to successfully move through it. You shall be so blessed. Thank you for your participation, your energy, your attention, and your commitment to your own journey. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you next time. Namaste.